For 4 years Brussels, largely in the shape of Michel Barnier, has told Britain we can't trust you to uphold the EU's shining moral values. It's the lie which underpins the entire stalling of Brexit, by the way, that the moment we leave the benign, guiding arms of Brussels we will start making teddy bears out of asbestos and forcing 9-year-olds to make running shoes instead of learning their times tables. The fact that most of our legislation exactly mirrors the EU's, apart from the bits like our employment laws, which are of course much stronger, is willfully ignored by the EU's Brexit negotiating machine simply to turn the screws on Britain and extract a more punishing deal. Today that particular piece of EU bullshit has been called out spectacularly by wonderful Norway, the good people of Oslo and the fjords, with a national population of 5 million, are so disgusted with the corrupt, self-serving morality of the EU they have taken direct action against the EU fascists and homophobes. That's Norway, remember, not even a member of the EU, holding the EU's ethical bankruptcy to account. Brave, fabulous, Norway, a nation prepared to risk economic reprisals from Brussels rather than compromise its integrity and clear position on state totalitarianism in Hungary and rampant homophobia in Poland. Because Norway hasn't just sat on the sidelines and tutted loudly while doing nothing, like shameful European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. Norway has pulled millions in grants, and if ever there was a case of it's the only language they understand. Norway is required by the EU to pay gazillions in annual grants to member states for access to their markets, but of course the EU isn't protectionist, under the European Economic Area and Norway grants system, but she has stopped paying in Hungary and Poland. In 2014 she stopped funding Hungary after noticing the cash was largely being trousered by the regime of Prime Minister Viktor Orban, a man currently battling it out with Belarus President Alexander Lukashenko for the title of Europe's last dictator. Then, in February this year, Oslo pulled €65 million in funding for a project supporting Polish courts after spotting they were coming increasingly under the influence of the ruling Law and Justice Party. And now the Norwegians have pulled cash from raft of homophobe Polish towns which have moved to ban LGBT ideology. You'd think the Poles would know a thing or two about what happens when you subjugate minorities, but apparently not. These are moral sanctions of the highest order. They of course risk an economic backlash from Brussels, and are clearly breaking international law in a very specific way, and this makes them to be even more thoroughly applauded. But why are they important to Britain? And why today? Because Mr. Barnier and his buddies have been using the EU's moral and ethical values as a stick to beat Britain with since the Brexit vote of 2016. The issue over the increasingly hated withdrawal agreement is basically Barnier saying we have a higher moral code than you Brits and we don't trust you to adhere to it. It's insulting nonsense, of course. The EU cares about money and power. It cares not one jot about morality. The leaders of 4 groups in the European Parliament recently told politics website Politico we must also remember that our values are not for sale, but they absolutely, demonstrably, are. While Norway has taken direct action, the EU has done nothing, because Brussels taking to task 2 member states would threaten the unity of the EU project and thus threaten bloc's grip on power. So while von der Leyen basically says aren't our Polish and Hungarian boys naughty, the EU doles out uncountable riches from the €750 BN bailout fund. No questions asked. Norway has chosen the way of honor while the EU turns a blind eye to the racists, homophobes and fascists in its midst. Don't want to get too biblical here, but by their friends shall ye know them seems apposite. And, as the EU's mates seem to be homophobes and racists, maybe it really is time we got ourselves some new pals. Me? I want to be best buddies with Norway.